Mr. Kibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My questions are through you to Mr. Mess. Mr. Smith, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service to Canada. And I certainly would like to acknowledge the experience the Coast Guard has, especially operating in the Arctic, where they operate like none other. And also thank you for helping us better understand this, you said proposed transition. However, I would suggest it is now a transition. Quick question, were you consulted about the expansion prior to introductions of Bills C2 and C12? Either of you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. Yes, the Canadian Coast Guard was involved in consultations.
But was your department, you personally, Mr. Mess?
Yes, I was.
And as well, Mr. Smith?
Yes, I was.
Thank you. And who do you currently both report to?
We both report to the Commissioner of the Canadian Coast Guard.
And who does he report to?
He reports to the Deputy Minister Beck of National Defence.
Okay. And how did you find out about this decision? Before you were consulted, how did you find out about it?
Through the announcement of the Prime Minister.
Okay, so you saw it on the news.
Yes, that's how we found out.
You found out.
Well, I mean, we were involved in the consultations. We knew that things were, but we didn't know specifically when this would be announced. But it was through the announcement of the Prime Minister.
Okay. Were you involved with consultations prior to the announcement in the news?
Yes, we were.
Thank you. So you mentioned that the mandate would change and would now include security and surveillance patrols. And in your opening remarks, you mentioned monitoring. Is there anything else beyond monitoring in the definition of security patrols or surveillance?
No, thank you for your question. It is about security. It's about the collection and sharing of information for security purposes with our defense partners, as well as surveillance, but nothing beyond that.
So security in the Coast Guard's definition is just to confirm, is just monitoring and nothing beyond that.
Yeah, it's collection of information and providing maritime domain awareness provides that level of understanding.
Thank you. I would define that as surveillance, and
yes.
I just want to get clarity on the security part, because it says security and surveillance. So what is your definition in terms of the role as far as security patrols beyond monitoring?
Absolutely. So security also includes, we collect right now information for the purposes of safety, and we share it for the purpose of safety. The new authorities will allow us to collect information to share it for the purposes of security, and we will be able to use new capabilities, including drones, both underwater, on surface, and above water, to be able to provide better domain awareness to our defense, security, and intelligence partners.
Okay, so those all sound to me like surveillance, and we'll talk about surveillance in a little bit more, but as far as security, would you envision having to intercept another vessel?
No, we will not. Our vessels are not designed for that kind of combat. And
do you envision having to board, outside of the excellent fishery work that you do, board a vessel, a foreign vessel?
Coast Guard does not board for purposes of enforcement. We do have RCMP on board some of our vessels, as well as you have mentioned, conservation fisheries officers, and we provide the platforms for that enforcement.
So without any outside agency assistance, are you capable of boarding another vessel?
We do not board other vessels.
Thank you. Now that the Coast Guard is under a national defense, would be, despite the red hull, this vessel by foreign nations would be classified as a valid surface combatant, and what steps are going to be taken to defend, to give a defensive capability to Coast Guard vessels?
I think the same thing is we remain a civilian fleet, a civilian agency under the umbrella.
I appreciate civilian crews, but now being under national defense, a foreign nation would classify Coast Guard as a valid surface combatant or a valid enemy vessel in a time of conflict or even in peacetime operations. Yeah. So again, my question is, what steps is the Coast Guard going to take now that the department has shifted, now that the role has shifted, for defending those vessels and keeping the civilian crews safe?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think a helpful clarification at this point. By definition, Coast Guard ships are non-combatant ships. Just by virtue of the fact that we're under national defense, we're going to have a security role, not a defense role. So our ships will remain unarmed, not part of the Canadian Armed
Thank you.
Forces.
I appreciate that they're unarmed and they're civilian, but foreign nations such as China will not see that. And for example, they regard American Coast Guard ships as valid surface combatants or targets.